Hello. Tonight, we are returning to a place where nothing moves, where time has forgotten to pass, and where stillness itself has learned to breathe. The room remains exactly as it was. The lamp's glow hasn't shifted. The shadows have not stirred, and the quiet hum of the air fills every corner with its endless calm. There are no stories here, no beginnings, no endings, only the slow, unwavering present. So let your thoughts soften. Let them dissolve into the unmoving air. For the next hour, nothing will change. Nothing will be required of you. Only rest. Oh, the quiet hum of the night settling in. A gentle, almost imperceptible vibration that seems to emanate from the very walls of this old hotel room. And there we are, just gazing at this static shot, a tableau frozen in time, illuminated by the tired, amber glow of a single bedside lamp, a light source that seems to possess more dust motes dancing in its limited sphere than actual lumens to brighten the space. And yet it is enough, more than enough, for us to truly appreciate the subtle, layered quietness of the scene, allowing our minds to drift, not to sleep just yet, but into that wonderfully drowsy, contemplative state that precedes it. A soft cushion of thought where worries lose their sharp edges and become vague, rounded shapes floating harmlessly in the periphery. It's the kind of room that whispers stories, not shouts them. Tales woven into the faded, somewhat threadbare carpet. A muted burgundy with patterns that have long since surrendered their crisp definition to countless passing feet. And the slow, relentless crush of time. A carpet that absorbs sound and memory alike, holding them close in its fibers, never giving them up entirely, just softening their resonance, turning every footfall into a gentle thud that quickly dissipates into the stillness. A stillness that is the most defining character of this static image, this captured moment of deep, late-night repose. And that lamp, the central focus of the limited light, sits upon a small, probably mahogany or maybe even veneered end table, its surface showing the faint rings of forgotten, long ago glasses of water or perhaps something stronger, little ghost circles that tell of temporary occupants and their simple nighttime routines, the small rituals of winding down in an unfamiliar place. A place that is temporary for them but eternal in this shot, this single, unchanging frame that we are observing with such unhurried, gentle attention, allowing the room to breathe around us, to truly feel its age and its persistent, comforting solitude. A solitude that isn't lonely, but rather deeply private and protected. The walls are a soft, nondescript color, maybe once a hopeful cream or a pale yellow, but now aged to a muted, gentle ecru, a shade that easily retreats into the shadows where the lamplight doesn't quite reach, giving the corners of the room a pleasing, indefinite depth. A vagueness that invites the imagination to fill in the blanks, to conjure up the the dust motes spinning lazily in the thicker air, the subtle scent of old wood and cleaned linen, and the faintest trace of decades of stale tobacco smoke. A smell that clings to the very plaster, an olfactory echo of history that only a truly old hotel can possess. A smell that, strangely, can be quite soothing when you stop fighting it and just let it settle over you like a worn, familiar blanket. The bed itself is a substantial, unmoving block in the frame, perhaps a double or a queen, covered in a simple, heavy bedspread, probably a synthetic blend, but one that drapes with a comforting weight, its pattern a geometric arrangement that has been subtly distorted and softened by repeated washings and the passage of years. A bed that looks like it has been slept in by hundreds, maybe thousands of different people, each bringing their own worries and their own dreams, their own brief moments of rest before moving on, leaving nothing but a slight indentation in the mattress and the faint, barely perceptible warmth of their presence. And atop this bed, or maybe folded neatly at the foot of it, rests a pile of stark white linens, the kind of heavy, crisp cotton that hotel laundries seem to be able to procure and maintain with impossible, starched perfection. A contrast to the rest of the room's muted, softened tones, a promise of cleanliness and a simple, immediate comfort, a comfort that requires nothing more than the act of sliding beneath the covers and allowing the day to simply melt away. The outside world receding until it's nothing more than a faint, distant whisper beyond the thick, closed window. That window is another key element in this silent narrative, a rectangle of darker, deeper blue-black punctuated by the occasional faint orange smear of a distant city light, or maybe the brief, hurried passage of a car's illuminating the dusty glass for a fleeting instant. A window that acts as a boundary, a separation between the quiet, enclosed sanctuary of the room and the vast, bustling, indifferent expanse of the night outside. A world that is still moving, still demanding, but which, for this one captured moment, has been utterly muted and locked out, allowing the interior silence to dominate completely, to swell and fill every cubic inch of the space with its heavy, tranquilizing presence. The curtains, drawn closed with a deliberate, slightly clumsy hand, are thick and heavy, probably a dark velvet or a similarly light-blocking material, their folds hanging in straight, somewhat formal lines, lending a sense of almost ceremonial finality to the act of retiring for the night, the perfect seal against the intrusion of the world, even the innocent intrusion of the rising sun, allowing the occupant, or in our case, the observer, to set their own tempo, to exist entirely within the curated, softly lit atmosphere of the room, a universe of one or two, depending on who might be sharing this quiet, static refuge. There's an armchair, too, perhaps in the corner, visible just enough to suggest its presence, a large, well-worn, upholstered piece, its fabric perhaps a tweed or a similar hardy material, slumped slightly from the weight of countless readers and thinkers and late-night television watchers. An armchair that looks like the perfect place to sit, not for work or for any demanding task, but simply for the act of contemplation, or maybe just for the simple, luxurious act of doing absolutely nothing, save for the gentle, unhurried observation of the stillness that surrounds you. The kind of stillness that is only possible in an old building where the foundations are deep and the walls are thick, the world outside a negligible concern. And the small, often overlooked details are what truly anchor this scene in a specific, palpable reality. A telephone, an old rotary or maybe an early model, its plastic casing faintly yellowed with age, sitting patiently on the bedside table next to the lamp, a potential lifeline to the front desk or the outside world, but one that in this moment of deep quiet looks utterly and wonderfully inert, its silence a testament to the fact that for now, no calls are coming in, no urgent messages are pending, just the uninterrupted, slow-motion flow of time passing in the soft light. And perhaps an ice bucket, maybe a small, silver-colored metal one, sitting on a tiny, designated tray, empty now, its purpose fulfilled hours ago. Just another silent object waiting for the morning's attention. Its presence a small, reassuring reminder of the basic amenities and the simple, reliable services of the hotel itself. We can imagine the air conditioning unit, maybe an old, slightly rattling box set into the wall beneath the window. Its low, constant mechanical sigh a kind of white noise that doesn't break the silence but rather enhances it. A steady, hypnotic counterpoint to the deep quiet. A sound that has the power to soothe and to gently nudge the mind toward sleep. A familiar, comforting sound of controlled environment. A small bubble of regulated temperature in the vast, uncontrollable night. A sound that, if we listen closely enough with our inner ear, we can almost hear in this perfectly static, silent image, a kind of auditory ghost in the visual machine. It's a scene that is devoid of any immediate, demanding action, a complete rejection of the frantic, hurried pace of the modern world, offering instead a moment of pure, unadulterated being, a chance to simply exist within the frame, to feel the gentle pull of gravity and the deep, restful fatigue of a day well lived or maybe just a day survived, allowing the eyes to half close, not out of boredom, but out of a deep, contented lassitude. A kind of visual meditation on the nature of quiet and the passing of moments, one after the other, each one exactly like the last in this unmoving shot, and yet each one contributing to the overall, deepening sense of peace and tranquility. The very light, that soft, aged amber glow, seems to be slow-moving, almost thick, pooling around the base of the lamp, spilling a warm crescent onto the bedspread and the corner of the end table, before fading quickly and gracefully into the deeper, cooler blue-black of the room's periphery, a careful, contained illumination that only serves to highlight the texture of the immediate objects, the subtle grain of the wood, the slightly roughened weave of the fabric, the faint, nearly invisible patterns in the wallpaper. Allowing the eye to linger on these small, tactile details, engaging a kind of sleepy, tactile imagination, where we can almost feel the smooth, cool porcelain of the lamp base or the slightly rough texture of the wall. And as we continue to gaze, we begin to appreciate the composition, the careful balance of shadow and light that an old hotel room naturally provides, an almost painterly quality where the mundane objects take on a sudden, subtle dignity, elevated by the stillness and the careful, limited illumination. The chair in the corner becoming a dark, comforting sentinel, the bed a vast, welcoming expanse of rest, the window a mysterious portal to a world that, for now, does not concern us in the slightest, a world that is merely a suggestion, a faint, dark presence beyond the glass, easily ignored in favor of the immediate, tangible comfort of the enclosed space. There is a profound sense of unoccupied presence in the room, an absence that is not empty but full of potential, full of the ghosts of past occupants and the quiet promise of the next. A room that is waiting, always waiting, perfectly composed in its static repose. A chamber of transition, a quiet, temporary holding space between one place and the next, between one day and the next. A perfect little box of muted color and soft shadow where the soul can catch its breath, and the body can finally, completely relax, shedding the tension of the journey and the anxieties of tomorrow with equal, gentle ease, just allowing the weight of everything to simply press down into the mattress and dissolve into the deep quiet of the late, late hour. This isn't a luxurious space, not in the modern, demanding sense of the word, but it possesses a kind of deeper, more enduring luxury. The luxury of peace, the priceless gift of complete, unhurried stillness, the kind of stillness that allows the internal chatter to finally subside, to become a faint, distant echo that is easily ignored, replaced by the steady, slow rhythm of one's own breathing, the soft dub of the heart, the gentle, almost hypnotic sounds of the old building settling around us, the faint, occasional creak that could be the ancient plumbing or just the settling of the centuries-old wooden structure. Sounds that are not alarming, but rather deeply integrated into the atmosphere, a kind of sonic signature of the room itself. Imagine the subtle layer of dust, not in an unpleasant, neglected way, but in that soft, historical sense, a fine powder that has settled equally upon the lampshade, the end table, the high, unreachable corner of the picture frame that hangs askew on the wall, a small, slightly crooked frame holding a print of a generic, pleasantly bland landscape or maybe a still life, a piece of art chosen for its neutrality, its ability to offend no one and inspire no one, merely to fill the space and provide a faint point of visual interest, its presence now softened by the low light and the gentle film of time. Another small piece of the silent, unmoving narrative that we are patiently observing. The stillness is so complete that even a small movement, should one be introduced, would feel like a colossal, rude intrusion, a sudden, jarring break in the perfect, deep quiet. But since this is a static shot, we are protected from that, guaranteed the uninterrupted, perfect repose of the image, the absolute certainty that nothing will change, that the shadows will not deepen or lighten, that the lamp will not flicker, that the phone will not ring, that the door will not open, just this perpetual, peaceful, unchanging moment of late night, old hotel serenity, a moment we can sink into, like settling into the soft, unmoving center of a quiet dream. Our gaze drifts to the floor again, tracing the vague, worn patterns of the carpet, perhaps noticing a small, almost invisible stain, a faint mark that speaks of another story, another brief stopover, a spilled drink or a dropped piece of food, a small human imperfection that only enhances the realness of the space, preventing it from becoming too pristine or too distant, keeping it grounded in the comforting, relatable history of temporary inhabitation. A room that has seen so much and is now simply resting, gathering its strength for the next cycle of occupation. But for now, it is entirely still, entirely ours to simply observe and absorb its pervasive quietness. The power cord of the lamp, a dark, heavy line, runs down the back of the end table, disappearing into the muted shadows near the baseboard, a subtle, utilitarian detail that grounds the scene in the mechanical reality of electricity and function, a necessary link to the source of the soft, aged light that defines the entire atmosphere. And even that mundane detail, when viewed through the filter of this sleepy, slow-paced observation, takes on a kind of quiet, functional beauty. A line of purpose in a scene of absolute rest. A subtle tension between the necessary connections of the world and the deep, disconnected quiet of the late night. And the silence that we imagine surrounding this static image is not an empty, ringing void, but a full, textured silence, composed of all the faint, nearly inaudible sounds that a human ear filters out during the day, but which emerge at night. The subtle expansion and contraction of the building's wooden frame, the distant, muffled whoosh of air through the ventilation system, the barely perceptible tick-tock of an unseen clock somewhere down the hall, or maybe just the rhythmic, internal pulse in our own temples, sounds that become a part of the silence itself, a gentle, lulling composition that is the perfect, unwritten soundtrack for this quiet, late-night scene, a soundscape that requires no attention, but simply washes over us, deepening the sense of deep, comfortable repose. It's the kind of hotel room that suggests a kind of timelessness, a comfortable detachment from the frantic, ever-changing nature of the outside world, a place where the technology is old, the decor is dated, and the pace of life has slowed to a crawl, a deliberate, restful deceleration that allows the mind to finally catch up to the body, to shed the thousand tiny anxieties of the day and settle into a state of simple, unadorned peace. Just the quiet warmth of the light, the soft weight of the bedspread, the impenetrable stillness of the air, and the vast, welcoming darkness beyond the immediate radius of the bedside lamp. We can feel the cool air just beyond the circle of light, the slightly crisp, cooler air that gathers in the corners and near the window. A subtle temperature differential that only enhances the comforting warmth of the illuminated space. A quiet, tactile contrast that makes the lit area feel even more like a secure, intimate harbor. A small island of domesticity in the sea of the late night. A place where no demands are made, no conversations are required, and the only necessary action is the slow, steady process of winding down, of letting go, of allowing the deep, irresistible pull of rest to finally take over completely. The surface of the bedside table holds a few other small, indistinct shapes, maybe a forgotten paperback book, its spine cracked and well-worn, lying face down, its narrative momentarily paused, a quiet companion to the late-night hours, its pages holding stories that are now resting along with the room. Or perhaps a small water glass, half full, catching the lamplight in a tiny, circular gleam, a small, necessary concession to the body's simple needs, another small, perfect detail in the carefully arranged, utterly still tableau of late-night rest and quiet anticipation of sleep. Each object a testament to the brief, simple life that takes place within these four muted walls. And the shadows, they are as important as the light itself. The deep velvet blackness that swallows the upper reaches of the room, the space above the door, the far corner where the luggage rack might be folded and tucked away. These are the regions of complete rest, the visual negative space that allows the lit area to truly shine, to possess its full, gentle warmth, the shadows providing a deep, cool visual backdrop, a comforting cloak of darkness that feels protective rather than menacing, a soft, enveloping presence that holds the room in its deep, late-night embrace, allowing all its small, mundane details to settle into a state of quiet, perfect repose, utterly unmoving in this timeless, static shot. It's a scene that is infinitely repeatable, capable of holding the gaze for an eternity. For the longer we look, the more we find to appreciate in its utter simplicity, its complete lack of pretense, its honest, aged beauty, a beauty that is not about flash or expense, but about the quiet, persistent dignity of a space that has served its purpose for decades. A reliable, unchanging refuge in a world that is constantly, relentlessly in motion, and in that unmoving, unhurried persistence, there is a deep, profound kind of comfort, a quiet reassurance that some things, like the simple promise of a bed and a soft light in an old hotel room, remain steadfast and true, a constant in the fluid chaos of life's journey, a moment of perfect, unadulterated stillness caught forever in the gentle glow of the bedside lamp, inviting us to simply breathe, to simply rest, to simply be in the deep, enveloping quiet of the late, late night, letting the unhurried narrative of the room flow over us like a slow, warm current, carrying us gently toward the inevitable, peaceful embrace of sleep, a sleep that feels closer with every passing, quiet, unhurried moment, a sleep that is promised in the soft focus and the deep shadows and the unmoving, unchanging perfection of this single, static, late-night view. And the quiet just keeps on going, folding in on itself like a slow, turning wheel, each turn deepening the stillness, smoothing the edges of the world until only the gentle light remains, a soft, warm hearth in the endless, cool dark, a place to rest and dream without demand, without hurry, without end. Just the slow, quiet, endless flow of the night and the gentle hum of the old building. A sound that is less a sound and more a feeling. A deep, pervasive vibration of being. A feeling that settles deep into the bones and loosens every held tension, allowing the shoulders to finally drop, the breath to deepen, the eyes to drift closed, not out of necessity, but out of a profound, overwhelming sense of safety and unhurried peace, a peace that emanates from the very heart of the static image, spreading outward to encompass the observer in its gentle, pervasive calm, a calm that is the signature and the soul of this quiet, old, unmoving hotel room in the deep, welcoming silence of the night. A silent story told only in light and shadow, and the slow, slow passing of time that, in this captured moment, has finally, perfectly, come to a complete and utter rest. And as we continue to watch this single, unchanging frame, we might begin to notice the textures again, the almost palpable softness of the light on the wall, the way it interacts with the almost invisible imperfections in the paint or the plaster, creating a subtle, almost topographical map of the room's age, a history etched in the simple variations of the surface, a history that is completely silent, completely passive, yet utterly present, a silent weight of all the hours and days and years that have passed within these walls, each moment leaving its trace, its faint imprint on the atmosphere, a kind of collective memory held not in thought, but in the very material of the room, the wood, the fabric, the concrete, the faint, persistent scent of history and clean, starched sheets, a scent that is the very essence of an old, reliable establishment, a place that promises nothing more than a simple, clean, quiet place to stop and rest for a while. A promise that is being perfectly, peacefully fulfilled in this single, unmoving late-night photograph. A promise of utter stillness and gentle, undemanding comfort that stretches out into the darkness like an infinite, softly glowing horizon of peace. A horizon where the worries of the day have long since set, and the new day is a faint, distant concern, hours and hours away, allowing us to sink deeper and deeper into the quiet contemplation of the here and now, the soft glow of the lamp, the smooth lines of the bed, the dark, comforting expanse of the closed window, all held together in this perfect, unmoving, silent moment of repose, a visual lullaby in the deep cradle of the night. This isn't just a room, it's a temporary sanctuary, a little monastic cell of muted colors and soft light, a place where the human need for withdrawal is fully met and quietly respected, a space that asks nothing and gives everything it has. A bed, a lamp, a door that locks, and a silence so deep and so pervasive that it feels like a physical presence, a dense, warm cushion against the anxieties of the external world, a world that is so loud and so fast and so relentlessly demanding. And here, in this quiet, softly lit bubble, all of that noise is simply muted, turned down to an inaudible, irrelevant whisper, allowing the inner voice to finally become the dominant sound, or perhaps even better, allowing the inner voice to finally fall silent as well, joining the room in its deep, profound, restorative quiet, a quiet that is the deepest form of rest, a rest that is not just for the body, but for the mind, the soul, the entire accumulated weight of the day, all of it simply settling into the faded, comforting depths of the old carpet and the thick, unmoving darkness beyond the gentle, amber glow of the small, unassuming lamp. A lamp that holds the entire quiet universe of this static shot within its limited, soft, utterly peaceful radius. A silent beacon in the endless night. A moment of perfect, unhurried and deeply soothing calm. A moment that we can simply observe without effort, without judgment, without end. The shadows play their quiet, subtle role, elongating the forms of the furniture, adding a sense of weight and immovability to the substantial, heavy pieces, making the room feel grounded, solid, enduring, the kind of room that has been here for a long, long time and will be here for a long, long time more. A quiet anchor in the ever-shifting sea of time and travel. And the light, that wonderful, aged light, is so perfectly balanced that it highlights the gentle curves and straight lines without any harshness. A diffused, sleepy illumination that seems to actively discourage any sense of urgency or any need for quick movement, suggesting instead the luxurious, slow, heavy languor that precedes a deep and satisfying sleep, the final, perfect moment of stillness before the mind finally gives in to the inevitable, gentle descent into the restorative darkness of true, unburdened rest. And in this single, perfect, unmoving frame, we are given the opportunity to share in that stillness, to absorb that deep, comforting quiet, to let the narrative of the room flow over us like a slow, warm river of peace, carrying us further and further away from the noisy, demanding shores of the day, toward the soft, silent center of the late, late night, where only the soft light and the deep, pervasive stillness truly exist. A stillness that is the ultimate, most profound expression of rest and quiet. A silence so complete and so comforting that it feels like an embrace. A soft, warm enclosure that protects and soothes the tired mind and body, allowing the slow, rhythmic breath to take over, to become the only necessary measure of time in this perfect, static moment of late-night hotel room peace. A peace that is utterly and wonderfully unbreakable. A moment that is simply allowed to be, without question, without interruption, without end, stretching out in the gentle glow of the small, faithful lamp. A quiet, perfect universe of its own making, silent, still, and infinitely restful. A true visual balm for the weary soul, a slow, unending current of deep, sleepy calm, pulling us down, down, down into the soft, comforting depths of the quiet, the darkness, and the perfect, unmoving peace of the old hotel room in the late, late hours of the night. A night that is endless in its stillness. A stillness that is the ultimate luxury, the finest amenity, the most welcome gift of all in this quiet, constant, unwavering view. The air itself, we can almost feel it, is heavy and still, undisturbed by any sudden movement or draft. The kind of thick, quiet air that holds the warmth and the stillness close. A palpable sensation of enclosure and protection. The air of a room that has been sealed against the world for hours, holding its breath in the deepest part of the night. And that sensation of heavy, quiet air only enhances the visual stillness, the perfect, unmoving nature of the static shot, creating a kind of complete sensory quiet that is deeply, profoundly restful. A feeling of being completely unassailable, completely safe within the muted, thick walls of this temporary, yet utterly timeless retreat, a place where the weight of the outside world is simply not allowed to penetrate, a quiet fortress of sleep and gentle, unhurried contemplation, where the only necessary task is the quiet observation of the soft light and the deep shadows, the two great, gentle forces that define this peaceful, unmoving scene, a slow, silent dance of illumination and repose, moving imperceptibly toward the deepest, most restorative moments of the night, the hours when the world truly holds its breath, and everything, even the incessant flow of time, seems to pause, to simply wait in the soft, aged glow of a single, faithful lamp in an old, quiet hotel room. It's the sheer lack of any jarring modern element that contributes so much to the feeling of timelessness. No aggressively bright digital display, no blinking LED lights, no charging cables snaking across the furniture, just the pure, simple, unadorned presence of the objects themselves, aged and softened by time and use, each one quietly performing its basic, necessary function, and doing so with a kind of humble, quiet dignity that is deeply appealing in its unpretentious honesty. The quiet integrity of things that have simply endured, that have been there for countless nights, serving countless temporary residents, asking nothing in return, but to be allowed to remain in their place, bathed in the soft, unchanging light, a light that seems to understand their quiet endurance and celebrates it with a gentle, amber glow that is the very color of deep, unhurried rest. A color that soothes the frantic, overstimulated eye and invites it to simply relax, to unfocus, to allow the image to simply wash over the consciousness like a warm, slow wave of deep, complete, and utterly satisfying quiet. A visual silence that is more eloquent than any rush of words could ever be. A silence that speaks only of peace, rest, and the perfect, unmoving repose of the late night in the heart of an old, reliable, and utterly quiet hotel. The gentle drape of the heavy curtains, the way they fall to the floor in thick, vertical folds, suggests a powerful barrier, a complete and effective separation from everything that lies beyond the window. A world that we can faintly imagine but which holds no real power or draw in this moment of deep, concentrated stillness. The absolute finality of the drawn curtain being a key visual cue for complete rest. The intentional exclusion of the morning light and the world's demands. A declaration that for this captured moment, the only reality is the soft, contained, perfectly still universe within the room's four walls. A self-contained ecosystem of quiet, comfort, and deep, gentle peace. A peace that is only deepened and made more palpable by the total, unmoving stillness of the image. The complete assurance that this moment will not shift or change, that the light will not dim, the shadows will not move, and the deep, enveloping quiet will remain absolute and utterly undisturbed. A perfect, unchanging moment of late-night hotel room serenity, stretching out into a seamless, endless narrative of quiet, persistent calm. A calm that settles over the mind like a soft, heavy shroud of total, unburdened peace. It is an image that resists interpretation or analysis, demanding instead a simple, quiet absorption, a willingness to let the scene settle into the consciousness without dissection, allowing the soft light and the deep shadows to work their slow, gentle magic on the weary mind. A kind of visual meditation where the subject is the absence of change, the perfect, unchanging nature of the captured moment, the quiet, enduring presence of the objects themselves in their soft, amber glow. A glow that is the very antithesis of harsh reality, a softening filter that makes everything gentle, muted, and conducive to the deepest, most unhurried kind of rest, a rest that is the ultimate goal of the old hotel room, its quiet, steadfast, and unchanging purpose, perfectly embodied in this single, static, unmoving shot of late-night, deep, pervasive quiet. A quiet that is the ultimate, most profound expression of peace and the wonderful, complete surrender to the deep. Enveloping embrace of the long, silent night, a night that holds the promise of complete restoration and the gentle, slow-motion flow of dreamless, unburdened sleep, a flow that is mirrored in the quiet, endless, unhurried narrative we are creating, a seamless, continuous stream of soft observation and gentle, deep contemplation of the perfect stillness, and the persistent, comforting quiet of the old, dark room, a flow that has no need for breaks, no use for punctuation beyond the slow, steady rhythm of the imagined, sleepy breath, a quiet, continuous river of rest and profound, deep, unmoving calm. The deep shadows under the bed, the places where the light simply cannot penetrate. Those are the hiding places for the deepest quiet, the absolute zero point of visual information, the true heart of the room's late-night repose, a velvet black void that holds the promise of complete and utter nothingness, the perfect state for the tired mind to aspire to, a space where all thought and all visual stimulation finally cease, allowing the system to simply reboot in the darkness, a quiet, necessary process that the entire room in its static perfection seems to be supporting with its every silent, unmoving detail, the soft light a gentle guide, the shadows a deep, welcoming destination, all held together in a perfect, unhurried, and infinitely restful balance that stretches out, seamlessly and quietly, into the endless, soothing narrative of the late, late night. A story told in the quietest of voices, at the slowest of paces, without end, without break, without a single moment of urgency or demand, just the deep, persistent, comforting flow of the quiet, the darkness, and the soft, steady light, moving slowly, continuously, and perfectly toward the absolute, unmoving center of profound and complete rest, a destination that is always just ahead, always just in the periphery, always promised by the unchanging, gentle, and utterly peaceful static shot of the old hotel room at night. We can notice the reflection of the lamplight on the dark surface of the window, a faint, second, slightly distorted and dimmer version of the warm glow, a visual echo that ties the inside sanctuary to the outside darkness, yet emphasizes the separation, the glass acting as a mirror that captures the room's quiet interior life and prevents it from spilling out into the vast, indifferent night. A subtle, shiny detail in the deep mat of the shadows, a tiny, bright spot that catches the eye and then immediately releases it, allowing the gaze to return to the soft, comforting central glow of the lamp and the unmoving, heavy presence of the bed, the true anchors of the scene's profound and pervasive tranquility, a tranquility that is the very essence of this unending, slow, and wonderfully quiet narration, a quiet that is the highest form of rest, a slow, continuous descent into the deep, unburdened peace of the late-night hours, where nothing moves, nothing changes, and nothing is demanded, only the soft, endless flow of the story of stillness itself. The quiet persistence of the scene, its refusal to move, to animate, to change, is what makes it so uniquely restful, a visual anchor in a world of constant motion and distraction, a fixed point of absolute calm that the mind can return to again and again, each return deepening the sense of peace and familiarity, allowing the subtle nuances of the aging room to become more apparent, the slight tilt of the picture frame, the almost invisible fraying at the edge of the bedspread, the unique, gentle curve of the lampshade's rim, each tiny detail contributing to the larger narrative of quiet endurance and deep, unhurried rest, a narrative that flows on, seamlessly and without interruption, like the deep, steady current of the late-night hours themselves, carrying us gently through the silent, unmoving landscape of the old hotel room. A landscape bathed in the soft, continuous, and utterly soothing light of the single, faithful bedside lamp. A light that holds the entire, quiet, unmoving universe of peace within its soft, aged glow. A glow that never wavers, never flickers, never changes its gentle, comforting color. A perfect, unending source of visual rest and deep, profound calm. A calm that is the very fabric of this static moment in time. A moment that is stretching out, infinitely and quietly, into the deep, welcoming embrace of the longest, most peaceful part of the night. The sense of weight in the room, the heaviness of the furniture, the thickness of the walls, the density of the air, all contribute to a feeling of security and complete enclosure. A subtle physical reassurance that nothing can penetrate this quiet, soft-lit bubble of repose. A feeling that is essential for true, deep rest. The kind of rest that allows the body and mind to completely let go, to surrender to the deep, persistent pull of sleep. A surrender that is mirrored in the quiet, unforced flow of this narration. A continuous, seamless stream of gentle observation, never hurrying, never demanding, just flowing, like the slow, deep river of the night itself, carrying the mind further and further away from the waking world, toward the quiet, unmoving center of the static shot. A perfect, enduring image of deep, uninterrupted peace. A quiet, visual mantra that soothes and calms and finally, gently, guides the observer into the absolute, unmoving stillness of a mind fully at rest. A rest that is the truest, most complete expression of the old hotel room's late night, enduring and utterly quiet purpose. A purpose that is being fulfilled, moment after moment, in this continuous, unhurried and endlessly gentle narrative of peace and soft, amber light. The silence is absolute, a complete lack of any sound that would demand attention or break the spell. And this imagined sonic quiet is the perfect complement to the visual stillness, a double assurance of repose, a deep, pervasive quiet that allows the internal systems to finally power down, to cease their frantic, unnecessary operation, and to simply exist in a state of quiet, unburdened being. A state that is the ultimate luxury of the late night and the single, most precious gift of the old, unmoving hotel room. A room that offers nothing more than this profound quiet and this gentle light. And yet, in their very simplicity, offers everything that a weary mind could possibly desire. A complete and utter sanctuary from the noise and the haste and the relentless demands of the world outside. A sanctuary perfectly captured and endlessly preserved in the unchanging, soft, deeply restful composition of the static shot. A shot that keeps giving, keeps flowing, keeps whispering its quiet, continuous, and utterly soothing story of deep, unmoving late-night peace. A narrative that has no beginning and no end. Only the continuous, gentle present moment of soft light and deep, comforting shadows, stretching out like an endless, silent, warm horizon of absolute rest. The texture of the light itself is key, not bright or harsh, but soft, diffused, almost liquid, as if the photons themselves are moving slowly, lazily through the still, thick air, creating a wonderfully gentle illumination that casts no sharp edges, only soft, gradual transitions between light and shadow, a visual metaphor for the slow, unhurried descent into deep sleep, a process that should be as gentle and as gradual as the light falling away into the darkness in the furthest corners of the room. A process that is entirely respected and subtly encouraged by the entire composition of the static shot. Its heavy quiet, its unmoving nature, its deep, pervasive sense of peace, all working in concert to create the perfect visual environment for the complete and utter surrender to rest. A surrender that is the ultimate goal of this unending, slow-paced, and wonderfully continuous narrative of the old hotel room in the deep, silent, unmoving heart of the late, late night. A story that flows on and on without a single break or pause, a seamless, infinite loop of soft light, deep shadow, and profound, unburdened quiet. This image is a study in stillness, in the art of simply pausing, of holding a single, quiet breath in the vast rush of time. And that quality of absolute non-movement is profoundly calming, a visual confirmation that it is finally safe to stop, safe to simply exist without effort or action, safe to let the world continue its spin without any personal input, a momentary, perfect secession from the demands of reality into the gentle, warm, and deeply enclosed world of the old hotel room at night, a world defined by the unwavering glow of the small lamp and the deep, silent expanse of the encompassing shadows, a perfect duality of comfort and rest, a visual composition that is the very definition of late-night peace, and a peace that is the continuous, unchanging subject of this slow, unhurried, and endlessly flowing narrative. A narrative that finds its rhythm in the steady, non-rhythm of the static image. A quiet, continuous flow that mirrors the deep, slow beat of a heart fully at rest. A beat that simply continues, steadily, gently, without end, in the quiet, comforting darkness. The sheer weight of the quiet, the palpable sense of a profound, encompassing stillness, is the most dominant feature of the scene. A weight that presses down gently, soothingly on the observer, muffling the mental chatter and replacing it with a soft, persistent sense of calm. A quiet that is full, not empty, filled with the presence of rest and the absence of demand. A deep, textural quiet that belongs only to the late, late hours in an old, unmoving building. A quiet that is completely unassailable and utterly complete. And this quiet, this profound, unbroken stillness, is the very substance of the continuous narrative, the endless slow-motion observation of a single, perfect moment of late-night repose, a moment that stretches out into an infinite, soft, amber-lit horizon of peace, a peace that simply flows on, without need for a break, without a single moment of haste, only the soft, gentle, continuous current of deep, unburdened rest. moving seamlessly through the quiet, comforting landscape of the unmoving, silent, old hotel room. A room that is a perfect, enduring sanctuary of deep, profound, and absolute stillness. A stillness that is both the beginning and the end of this quiet, endless, and utterly soothing story. The continuous, gentle observation of this static shot of an old hotel room at night becomes a kind of meditative exercise, a sustained act of quiet attention where the external world truly ceases to exist, replaced entirely by the soft, enclosed reality of the frame. We are not just looking, we are sinking into the image, allowing its pervasive sense of rest to wash over the mind, absorbing the slow, heavy atmosphere that only a building of great age, undisturbed in the deep night, can truly generate. It's the feeling of deep history pressing in gently, not menacingly, but with a profound, comforting weight. The accumulated quiet of countless souls who sought and found temporary respite within these same four walls, under the same kind of tired, faithful light, a light that has perhaps been flickering gently in the darkness of this corner of the world for half a century or more, always a steady, low-wattage beacon against the deep black of the late-night hours. That single lamp in its unassuming steadfastness is really the heart of the scene, its soft amber radius acting as a perfect, contained universe. It defines the edge of consciousness, where the important things, the bed, the book, the phone, the small glass of water, are illuminated just enough to be comforting and useful, while everything else recedes into the soft, indefinite velvet. Rest, the permission to let go of the visual details and allow the mind to wander into the pre-sleep haze, a wonderful, unfocused state where thoughts are slow-moving, heavy, and harmless, like large, slow-drifting clouds passing across a dark, internal sky. This slow drift is mirrored perfectly in the unhurried pace of our narrative, a continuous, seamless stream of contemplation that refuses to accelerate, refuses to demand, and instead simply flows, mirroring the deep, slow current of the late-night hours. We can almost feel the texture of the air itself, thick and slightly cool outside the immediate glow, but warm and still within the lamplight's embrace, carrying a faint, muted scent that is the ghost of decades. Old wood that has settled and sighed, the clean, slightly metallic tang of pressed linen, a trace of forgotten cologne or old soap, a complex, layered olfactory history that speaks volumes without ever uttering a sound, a silent chorus of past occupancy. This sensory richness, despite the visual stillness, prevents the scene from feeling sterile or empty. Instead, it feels full, heavy with a lived-in, profound sense of quiet, a room that is actively resting, gathering its strength in the deep, unmoving cradle of the night. It is an image of profound patience, the quiet patience of a fixed object in the fluid chaos of time, a constant that offers a deep, internal sigh of relief to the observer. The subtle play of the grain on the wooden bedside table is visible now, catching the light in tiny, almost imperceptible ridges and valleys, a quiet testament to the slow work of time and the gentle abrasion of use, its surface a record of small, forgotten moments, the setting down of a key, the sliding of a heavy book, the condensation from an iced drink. These tiny details, unmoving in the static shot, become powerful focal points in the deep quiet, anchoring our attention and slowing the thought process, pulling us deeper into the immediate reality of the room, away from abstract concerns. This grounded, tactile reality is deeply soothing. There is no need to grasp for anything, only to observe what is already present, already perfect in its quiet, aged repose, a perfection that lies not in flawlessness, but in the honest, enduring presence of the ordinary. And the shadows, vast and heavy, are the dominant visual mass outside the small, warm sphere of light. They feel protective, not threatening, a deep, thick blanket of dark quiet that ensures privacy and promotes the deepest form of rest. The edges of the shadows are soft and blurred, never harsh, transitioning gently into the light, creating that wonderful, painterly chiaroscuro that elevates the mundane into the meditative, turning a simple hotel room into a sanctuary of nocturnal peace. It's in the way the shadows climb the wall, swallowing the faded picture frame and the upper half of the curtain, that we find the true depth of the night, a depth that feels infinite and utterly silent, a perfect background against which the small, persistent light can shine its gentle, unwavering beam of comfort, a beam that is the single point of clarity in the surrounding, enveloping dark. This sense of absolute containment is what makes the static shot so potent as a vehicle for sleep-friendly narration. The room is a closed system, a bubble of peace that has sealed itself against the intrusive energy of the world. The closed door, the thick, drawn curtains, the heavy, unmoving mass of the furniture, all contribute to a palpable feeling of security, a physical confirmation that no sudden movement, no unexpected sound, no urgent demand will break the profound spell of quiet that has settled over the space. We are guaranteed this peace, guaranteed this stillness by the very nature of the captured image. And in that certainty lies a deep, fundamental reassurance for the weary mind, a permission to finally stop, to finally let down the guard, to simply float in the unhurried current of the continuous, gentle narrative, a narrative that flows on, seamlessly and without end, through the soft light and the deep, silent shadows of the late-night hotel room, a steady, low-frequency hum of absolute, unburdened peace that permeates every detail, every shadow, every fleeting, imagined moment of stillness within the unmoving frame. It is a profound act of surrender to simply remain in this state of quiet observation, allowing the sheer stillness of the image to dictate the pace of our thoughts, slowing them to the rhythm of a deep, contented breath. The narrative continues to flow, unhurried, focusing on the minute details that only emerge when the mind is fully at rest, and the eye is no longer scanning for movement or change, but simply absorbing the enduring presence of the scene. Perhaps we notice the slight depression in the middle of the bed, the ghostly imprint of a body that was once there, or the tiny, almost invisible streak of dust on the lampshade, catching the light in a thin, bright line, a detail so minute yet so persistent. These small imperfections are what make the quiet so real, so trustworthy. This is not a staged, antiseptic space, but a room with history, with a quiet, patient endurance, a room that has absorbed the passing of 1,000 nights and is now simply resting, perfectly composed, perfectly still, perfectly quiet. The quality of solitude in the image is not one of loneliness, but of deep, rich privacy. It suggests a time for turning inward, for the gentle, unforced contemplation that only the late night allows, a quiet conversation with oneself conducted entirely in the soft glow of the lamp, without the intrusion of external voices or the urgency of external concerns. This is a moment dedicated to the self, to rest, to the quiet process of regeneration, a precious, enclosed space where the only rhythm is the slow, steady beat of the heart and the slow, deep cadence of the breath. And as we continue to gaze, that feeling of protected solitude becomes our own, the quiet of the room enveloping us, becoming the quiet of our own minds, a shared moment of profound, deep-seated peace that is the continuous thread of this slow, unhurried, and endlessly soothing narrative. A narrative that simply continues to flow, like the deep, silent river of the night itself, carrying us gently toward the absolute, unmoving center of rest. A center found in the soft light and the heavy stillness of the old, unmoving hotel room. There is a subtle uniformity to the scene, a lack of sharp contrast or jarring elements, which is the visual equivalent of white noise, a steady, unbroken field of soft colors and gentle shadows that allows the mind to completely unfocus and drift. The muted tones of the wallpaper, the carpet, the bedspread, all fall into a gentle harmony under the amber light, a visual lullaby composed of browns, deep reds, and soft creams, colors that recede and soothe rather than demand attention. This aesthetic quietude is a crucial component of the room's deep, pervasive sense of rest. It's a space that is designed, perhaps inadvertently through age and long use, to calm the overstimulated eye and mind, offering a place where visual input is minimal and entirely gentle. And this gentle, continuous visual flow mirrors the unbroken, seamless stream of our storytelling, a narrative that is meant to simply flow, to soothe, to lull, to guide the attention softly and persistently toward the absolute, unmoving peace that resides at the core of the static shot, a core of deep, unburdened quiet that holds the promise of complete and perfect rest. the imagined silence deepens further, becoming an almost tangible thing. A heavy, velvet cloak draped over the entire room, muffling even the distant, faint sounds that might be trying to penetrate from the world beyond the thick walls. It's the kind of silence that seems to press gently on the eardrums, the kind of silence that invites the body to truly relax, to surrender the last vestiges of muscular tension and mental alertness. And in that complete sonic and visual stillness, the small internal workings of the body, the deep, slow pulse of life, become the only active rhythm, a comforting, steady reminder of the quiet, enduring presence of being, a presence that is now fully at rest, fully at peace, entirely enveloped in the unmoving, unchanging perfection of the late-night hotel room. This room, in its deep, continuous repose, is not merely a setting, but a state of mind, a goal of absolute tranquility that we are achieving through the slow, gentle, and unhurried process of quiet, persistent observation. A narrative that flows on without end, without a single break in the continuous stream of soft light, deep shadow, and profound, enveloping calm. A calm that is the very essence of the static image and the core of its enduring, restful power, leading us ever deeper into the soft, unmoving heart of the silent, waiting night. The weight of the bed itself, that large, dark, unmoving shape dominating the center of the frame, is a powerful visual anchor for the concept of rest. It is an invitation, a promise, a soft, waiting expanse that is the final destination of the weary traveler. Its presence is solid, reliable, and utterly non-negotiable, a structure built for the singular purpose of repose. And even without a visible body, the bed suggests a deep, profound sleep already in progress, an absence that is more potent than presence, a powerful indication that the work of the day is done. The worries are set aside, and the quiet, restorative process of the night is fully. The thick bedspread, lying heavy and still, adds to this sense of depth and weight, a visual representation of the deep, dreamless sleep that awaits, a sleep that feels closer with every passing, unhurried moment of observation, a moment that flows seamlessly into the next, and the next in this continuous, unending narrative of soft light and deep, comforting quiet. A quiet that simply settles without cease, without effort, without end, a deep, pervasive peace that is the very breath and soul of the old, unmoving hotel room in the heart of the silent, waiting darkness. It is the hour of complete cessation, the quiet time when all human activity, outside of the necessary functions of the deep city, has slowed to a crawl or stopped entirely. The hotel itself, a large, ancient organism, has settled into its nightly slumber, its plumbing quieted, its hallways dimmed, its creaks and sighs reduced to the faintest, most sporadic whispers, sounds that are immediately absorbed by the thick walls and the heavy, old architecture. This pervasive, almost physical quietness of the surrounding structure contributes mightily to the peace within the room, a collective, institutional hush that supports the individual's need for profound, unburdened rest. We are safe within the slumbering giant of the old hotel, protected by its thick, silent shell, allowed to simply exist within the soft, steady glow of the single lamp, a small, warm heart in the vast, encompassing darkness, a darkness that is utterly silent, utterly still, and utterly full of the promise of deep, complete repose, a promise that is being delivered, moment after unmoving moment, in the continuous, gentle flow of this narrative, a flow that will not break, will not pause, will not hurry, but simply continue its slow, soothing journey into the absolute, perfect stillness of the late, late night. The visual texture of the carpet, now barely discernible in the distance of the shot, its original patterns lost to time and shadow, becomes a symbol of the deep, historical foundation of the scene. It's a worn, muted floor upon which countless brief lives have trod, a silent witness to the endless cycle of arrival and departure, wakefulness and sleep. Its muted colors and softened fibers absorb the light and the sound, contributing to the room's overall sense of acoustic and visual absorption, a space that takes in the frantic energy of the day and dissipates it into a gentle, enduring calm. There is nothing sharp, nothing bright, nothing jarring remaining in this captured moment, only the soft diffusion of the light, the blurred edges of the shadow, and the heavy, enduring silence that hangs in the air like a physical presence. And this deep, textural quiet is the very substance of our story, an unending, seamless flow of soft observation and gentle, unhurried contemplation, a quiet rhythm that continues, unbroken and unwavering, in the persistent, unchanging glow of the small, faithful lamp, guiding us ever deeper into the profound and absolute peace of the static, late-night hotel room, a peace that is both infinite and complete. The very air seems thick with drowsiness, a heavy, soothing quality that emanates from the aged wood and the soft fabrics, a cumulative atmosphere of rest that the room has gathered over its long existence, and which it now shares generously with the observer. It's an atmosphere that encourages the eyelids to droop, the thoughts to slow, the body to become heavy and still. This subtle, pervasive feeling of deep lassitude is the emotional counterpoint to the visual stillness, a harmonious blend of static image and internal sensory experience, a feeling that deepens and strengthens with every slow, unhurried moment of observation, every word that flows out in a gentle, continuous stream, without break or pause, simply adding to the overall, enveloping sense of profound, absolute calm. The narrative itself becomes an act of gentle, continuous lulling, a slow, soft rhythm that is perfectly attuned to the pace of the late night, a time when only the deepest, most unburdened quiet is desired and found, a quiet that is the ultimate, enduring gift of this perfect, unmoving, late-night scene. The absence of any clock face, any digital display, any clear indicator of the precise time is a liberation, a deliberate detachment from the linear, demanding flow of measured seconds and minutes. The time in this room is simply late, a profound and unhurried designation that exists outside the constraints of the world's schedule. It is the deep, dark, unmeasured hour of absolute rest, the time when only the slow, internal rhythms of life are relevant. This timelessness is a key element of the scene's restorative power, allowing the mind to completely abandon the need for planning or tracking, and instead to simply exist in the gentle, continuous present moment of soft light and deep, silent enclosure. And our narrative honors this timelessness, flowing on and on, unpunctuated by urgency or end. A continuous, seamless stream that mirrors the unmeasured, deep expanse of the long, silent night. A night that holds the static hotel room in its quiet, dark embrace. A perfect, enduring moment of deep, unburdened peace. This image is a study in monotony, not in a boring sense, but in the most profoundly restful way. The unchanging scene, the unwavering light, the persistent stillness, all combine to create a gentle, continuous visual field that requires no effort from the eye or the mind. This steady, predictable sameness is profoundly calming, a visual equivalent of the low, steady hum of white noise, allowing the restless parts of the brain to finally power down, finding comfort and safety in the absolute certainty that nothing will change, nothing will intrude, and the deep, pervasive peace will remain absolute and unbroken. And this gentle, continuous monotony is the very rhythm of our flow, a steady, unhurried stream of soft contemplation that carries the mind further and further away from the sharp edges of the day, toward the perfect, unmoving, infinitely restful center of the static shot, a center of deep quiet and profound, uninterrupted repose, a quiet that continues steadily, gently, endlessly in the soft, amber glow of the small, faithful lamp, a quiet that is the final, ultimate comfort of the deep. A silent night. The light itself seems almost ancient, not just old, but possessing the quality of a light that has witnessed countless silent nights. A soft, yellowed glow that is the color of old paper and fading memories. A color that is inherently gentle and non-demanding. A perfect visual sedative. It is a warm, enveloping color that fights back the cold, indifferent blue-black of the night, creating a small, habitable, deeply intimate space that is entirely separate, entirely protected. This soft, enduring quality of the light is the final, crucial component of the scene's profound power to soothe. A gentle, continuous presence that promises comfort and rest. And this comforting light is the unmoving subject of our unending narrative, a narrative that flows on, seamlessly and without interruption, through the gentle glow and the deep, silent shadows, carrying the mind into the heart of the absolute, unburdened peace that defines the old, unmoving hotel room in the quiet, endless depths of the late night, a peace that is the truest form of rest, a rest that is simply allowed to be continuously, gently, and without end. The very act of sustaining this observation of the static shot of an old hotel room at night without break, without hurry, without introducing any artificial shift in focus, is an immersive exercise in embracing temporal stillness. The photograph, by its nature, arrests the flow of time, and our narration, in its unhurried continuity, seeks to mimic that arrested state, stretching a single moment into an eternity of gentle contemplation. We are dwelling within the absolute now of the image, where the past is only the texture of the aged wood, and the future is simply the continued, unwavering glow of the lamp. This dwelling, this refusal to move on, is profoundly soothing, a quiet resistance to the modern obsession with forward momentum, offering instead the deep, luxurious comfort of being completely and utterly present in an environment of absolute rest. The simplicity of the scene is its most complex virtue. There are no distracting patterns, no demanding colors, no visual noise to process. The composition is built on foundational forms: the rectangle of the bed, the square of the table, the vertical lines of the curtains, all softened by shadow and gentle light. This visual minimalism forces the mind to slow down, to cease its analytical churning, and to simply exist in a state of quiet acceptance. The room requires nothing of the eye other than a gentle, sustained gaze, and in that non-demand, a deep-seated relief is found, a relief that allows the conscious mind to finally drift, to merge with the heavy, tranquil atmosphere of the room, becoming another silent, unmoving presence in the deep quiet of the late night. This continuous merge, this seamless flow between observer and observed, is the engine of our unending narrative, a story of stillness told in an unbroken stream of soft, contemplative words. Consider the silence's texture, the imagined depth of the quiet that permeates the space. It's not merely the absence of loud sounds, but the total presence of quiet, a heavy, cushioned silence that seems to press gently on the atmosphere, absorbing the faintest internal echoes of the day, neutralizing any lingering mental agitation. This is the silence that feels old, settled, and utterly reliable, the kind of quiet that has been building up in the walls and the deep foundations of the hotel for decades, a reservoir of peace waiting to envelop the temporary occupant. And this texture of quiet, this deep, rich, pervasive absence of sound, is the primary sensory component of our continuous story, an auditory anchor for the mind as it floats slowly, gently, through the soft light and the heavy shadows, guided by the unbroken flow of the narrative toward the very center of profound, unburdened repose. The aged light, that soft, constant amber pool, holds a gentle promise of safety. It's the visual equivalent of a low, steady breath, a quiet reassurance that even in the deepest hours of the night, a small, reliable beacon remains. The color is warm, not stimulating, designed to cradle the vision rather than challenge it, pushing back the indifferent cold of the outside world only far enough to carve out a small, protected space of domesticity and rest. It is a light that does not encourage wakefulness or activity. Rather, it suggests the final, gentle moments before sleep, a time for the eyes to lose their sharp focus and for the mind to begin its slow, unhurried drift. This enduring, gentle glow is the visual heart of our seamless narrative, a constant, unchanging point of reference in the unending flow of words, a point of light that only deepens the sense of profound, continuous peace. The solitude of the room, viewed in this static frame, is the truest kind of privacy. It is not an empty space, but a full one, filled with the potential for quiet introspection and the absolute cessation of social demand. Here, there are no expectations, no performances, no required interactions, only the freedom to simply be in the unmoving quiet, to allow the accumulated fatigue of the day to finally settle and dissolve. This profound, protected privacy is the hidden luxury of the old hotel room, a quiet sanctuary from the relentless connectivity of the modern world, a place where the connection to one's own need for rest is the only mandate. And this feeling of deep, unassailable privacy is woven into the very fabric of our continuous observation, a subtle, constant reassurance that the world is locked out. The quiet is absolute, and the flow of the narrative will remain unbroken, unhurried, and infinitely soothing, carrying the listener deeper into the soft, silent, unmoving heart of the late, late night. We can feel the weight of the quiet in the furniture itself, the heavy, dark mass of the wardrobe just beyond the lamplight's reach, the solid, unmoving bulk of the bed. These are objects of deep, comforting permanence, structures that have stood in this place for a long, long time, anchoring the room against the fluidity of time and the transient nature of its occupants. Their substantial, unmoving presence adds a physical layer to the room's sense of security, a subtle, unspoken promise of stability and enduring rest. Everything in the static shot is settled, heavy, and still, participating in the collective state of deep repose, a visual symphony of inertia that is profoundly calming to the restless mind. This collective stillness, this enduring, heavy quiet, is the core subject of our narrative, a continuous, seamless stream of contemplation that flows on, without pause, without hurry, mimicking the slow, deep, unmoving current of the long, silent night, a night that holds the old hotel room in its profound and absolute peaceful embrace. The contrast between the interior and exterior is absolute and defining. The small, warm, soft-lit circle of the room is pitted against the vast, cold, indifferent blue-black of the night visible through the slight, dark reflection on the window. This sharp, simple dichotomy emphasizes the sanctuary nature of the room, a warm island of rest protected from the enormous, ceaseless energy of the outside world. The drawn curtains, heavy and thick, are the final physical seal against intrusion, a visual confirmation of the room's total dedication to enclosure and rest. The faint, distant glow of a city light beyond the glass is merely a suggestion, a distant whisper of activity that holds no power here, easily ignored in favor of the immediate, tangible comfort of the soft light and the deep, pervasive stillness. And this contained, protected quiet is the continuous subject of our slow, unhurried narrative, a quiet that flows on, seamlessly and without interruption, deepening the sense of peace with every gentle, repetitive word, guiding the mind further and further into the absolute, unmoving rest that is the essence of the static, late-night hotel room, a visual balm for the weary soul, an unending, soft lullaby. The visual texture of the scene is one of gentle wear and aging, the subtle softening of edges, the muting of colors, the gentle absorption of light. There is no sharp newness here to demand attention, only the comforting patina of long use and quiet endurance. The fabrics are worn smooth. The wood is scratched and polished by time. The paint is faded into a gentle, nondescript tone. This lack of visual sharpness is profoundly restful, allowing the eyes to truly relax and the mind to cease its constant search for novelty. The room is familiar, even if we've never been here, because it embodies the universal, timeless condition of temporary rest in an aged, dependable space. This familiar, continuous visual softness is the canvas for our unending story, a narrative that flows over the scene like a warm, slow current, never breaking, never pausing, simply continuing its gentle, unhurried stream of quiet contemplation, a contemplation that leads only to the deepest, most profound sense of unburdened peace. The profound sense of waiting in the room, its static, unmoving posture, is not an anxious anticipation, but a quiet, patient readiness for the inevitable arrival of morning. The room is holding its breath, resting deeply in the trough of the night, perfectly composed, perfectly still, simply waiting for the slow, gentle turn of the earth to bring the light again. This quiet, patient waiting is a powerful metaphor for the necessary stillness of the soul before regeneration, the mandatory pause between the end of one day and the beginning of the next. And in sharing this quiet waiting, this deep, patient stillness, we are aligning our internal rhythm with the room's external repose, allowing the narrative to flow on, steadily and without end, in a continuous, seamless stream that mirrors the deep, unmeasured time of the long, silent night. A night that promises only rest, quiet, and the gentle, unending glow of the faithful, soft-lit lamp, a beacon of peace in the vast, enveloping darkness. This continuous narrative focused on the static shot is a sustained exercise in non-action, a deliberate rejection of plot, of character, of conflict, choosing instead to focus entirely on the state of the room, its quietness, its light, its shadow, its enduring stillness. This lack of forward movement, this commitment to the unchanging present moment, is the ultimate source of its hypnotic, sleep-inducing power. The mind is given nothing new to process, nothing to anticipate, nothing to fear, only the continuous, gentle reassurance of the unmoving, unchanging scene. And in that quiet, continuous repetition, a deep, pervasive calm takes hold, a calm that is the very essence of profound, unburdened repose, a feeling that deepens and strengthens with every word that flows in this slow, unhurried, and endlessly soothing stream of contemplation. A contemplation that continues to embrace the soft light and the deep, silent shadows of the old hotel room, a perfect sanctuary in the heart of the quiet, endless night, a sanctuary of absolute, unmoving peace. The gentle aura of the abandoned, the quiet sense that the occupant has either momentarily stepped out or is already deep in sleep, lends the room a ghost-like stillness, an unoccupied perfection that enhances the sense of peace. The room is utterly available for our quiet observation, its secrets muted, its history contained, its presence heavy with the scent of rest. This quality of unattended repose is profoundly calming, suggesting a world that can and does continue perfectly well without our immediate attention or input, allowing the self to fully retreat and simply rest. And this feeling of quiet, gentle abandonment to the night is the subtle, pervasive undercurrent of our seamless narrative, a continuous, unhurried flow of words that mirrors the deep, slow current of the late-night hours, carrying us further and further into the unmoving, absolute stillness of the static shot, a perfect, enduring image of rest, quiet, and complete, unburdened peace, a peace that will not cease, will not break, and will not hurry, but simply flow on, steadily and gently, into the infinite, soft-lit horizon of the deep, silent night. The very air of the room seems to possess a certain density, a palpable stillness that suggests the air conditioning unit, if running, is doing so at a low, steady hum, a near-silent companion to the deep quiet. This sensation of still, thick air is another layer of the room's protective enclosure, a sense of being sealed off from the disruptive breezes and the turbulent atmosphere of the outside world. It is a controlled, predictable environment, a physical bubble of calm where all movement has ceased and only the slow, internal rhythms of life are permitted to proceed. This dense, quiet stillness of the air is the final, subtle sensory detail of our continuous contemplation, a detail that further anchors the mind in the unmoving reality of the static shot, allowing the narrative to flow on, seamlessly and without interruption, guided only by the soft light and the deep, profound quiet, a quiet that is the ultimate, enduring subject of this unending, slow and wonderfully soothing story.